Some of humanity's greatest achievements are still shrouded in mystery. Even with all of our modern day technology, scientists are still puzzled by these ancient megastructures. Let's start off with the Hanging Gardens. One of the world's most magnificent wonders is still shrouded in mystery to this very day. The Hanging Gardens are considered one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world and have been confusing scientists for many years. They were situated in Babylon, the ancient capital of Babylonia, provided an incredible backdrop of suspended plants that were growing out of the royal palace. Because the remains of this ancient wonder have completely disappeared, archaeologists were having an incredibly difficult time locating the exact site of the remarkable garden. It wasn't until the 21st century that historians narrowed the exact location down to modern-day Iraq, but even now we are still searching for answers. There are many ancient texts and writings that have described the Hanging Gardens. The exact description is still open to interpretation. While the hanging title would indicate the plants were in fact suspended in the air, some researchers believe that the plants were simply growing out of the walls of the royal palace. Regardless of however it looked, the Hanging Gardens of Babylon were an incredible achievement from this ancient civilization. Next up we have Petra. You've probably seen this one in Instagram stories of anybody who's visited the Kingdom of Jordan. The ruins of Petra represent an ancient city from many years ago that was lost over time. It is situated in the Valley of Moses, where many ancient traditions state that the leader of the Israelites pierced a rock and water came gushing through the valley. Petra is actually the Greek name for rock, so it only makes sense that the city was built into the cliffs of this important historical area. More than 10,000 citizens were living in Petra at its peak. The city served as a major commercial hub that specialized in spice trading. While most of the ruins have gradually melted away over time, the large entrance to an ancient temple can still be found within the cliffs. Despite all of the changing climates and global conflicts, this amazing wonder has managed to stand the test of time. This proves that the technology of this ancient civilization was incredibly advanced, and scientists are still trying to figure out how the city was seemingly so far ahead of other colonies in the area. On top of all of its history, we should also point out that a certain Indiana Jones successfully located the Holy Grail inside these very same ruins. Up next is Angkor Wat. This is the world's largest religious structure and is one of the greatest ancient monuments that still exist in Southeast Asia today. This Cambodian temple is a testament to the Khmer people's intelligence and design structure that influenced so many other architectural designs. The Angkor Wat covers a grand total of 400 acres and contains many interesting subsections. There are over 1,000 buildings in total on this mega complex, to include hydraulic structures, wells, communication routes, and so much more. The 5 giant towers that are situated at the center of the Wat are meant to represent the 5 peaks of Mount Meru. The Hindus believe that this mountain was the resting place of the gods, so Angkor Wat really served as a massive tribute to Vishnu and other important religious figures. This is further proven by many religious motifs and other monuments that can be found within the temple grounds. This amazing accomplishment in construction and architecture has puzzled experts for many years because of how complex its design is. It has also shown us how the Khmer people were incredibly advanced for their time. After that, we have the Moai Statues. The small Chilean island of Easter Island is home to one of the greatest mysteries on Earth. The Moai monoliths are giant stone statues that have been carved in the shapes of human heads, who are said to be ancestral chiefs and descendants of God. Most experts have declared that the monoliths were carved by the ancient Rapa Nui tribe members, but the real answer is still up for debate. Some have actually stated that distant beings from another universe may have visited Earth at some point in the past and left the monoliths as a gift. The other side of that story is that the Rapa Nui may have carved the stones to honor these mysterious beings that visited them in the past. There are a ton of theories surrounding these sculptures, but there is so much more that needs to be studied. There is the fact that the stones are absolutely massive, but it seems that they have also been carefully placed in certain positions. Skeptics have pointed out that it would have been physically impossible for a human to move the stones on their own without the help of a large machine. Now obviously there were no cranes back then, so this has once again led people to believe that mysterious beings may have brought the stones from another world. Next up are the Khami Ruins. This ancient discovery represents a massive shift in African dynasties. Following the collapse of Great Zimbabwe, the remaining citizens decided to build a new capital and commence a brand new Torwood dynasty. The new city was known as Khami, and this elaborate project lasted a grand total of 200 years. Between 1450 and 1650, the citizens of Khami constructed a large capital city that served as their new hub. All of these structures contain a unique chevron pattern which paid tribute to the stone production in the now forgotten Great Zimbabwe. Now sadly, the citizens once again had to retreat from their capital city in the 19th century due to a new invasion, but some of the ancient remains have stayed intact to this day. These large stone structures contain intricate steps and platforms and showed how advanced the Torwood dynasty was when it came to stone production and construction. These ruins have left a lasting impression on experts and archaeologists thanks to their unique patterns and their elaborate designs. Next on our list is the Great Pyramid. Quite possibly the most famous ancient wonder in Africa, the Great Pyramids are still shrouded in mystery today. These massive monuments were built over 4,000 years ago. Many people are still wondering how on earth the ancient Egyptians were able to build these structures. The Great Pyramid stands 139 meters tall, and was originally built to serve as the tomb of the pharaoh Khufu. This was a pretty remarkable structure for one single ruler, but some people are convinced the ancient Egyptians might have had some outside help. When you consider how tall the pyramid stands and how the structure was built with such fine detail, many people have proposed theories that extraterrestrials might have constructed the pyramids on their own. Much like the Moai monoliths, this great structure was built during a time period where heavy machinery did not exist. Many historians have challenged the idea that humans were able to reach the top of the pyramid to complete its construction, and have argued that this was simply impossible. The theories surrounding this famous wonder will continue to search for many years to come, as no one has actually been able to pinpoint the real answer behind these troubling questions. Our next structure is the Alexandria lighthouse. Ships in the ancient world knew exactly when they were approaching Alexandria when they spotted this giant structure. The Great Lighthouse of Alexandria is considered one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. It was undoubtedly one of the world's greatest creations. Just like a modern-day lighthouse, the Alexandria Tower served as a guiding light for any ships that were entering the city. This was a tremendous achievement in construction and innovation, but many people had a tough time believing in the structure for a very long time. There were many drawings and stories about the lighthouse, but finding any definitive proof of the structure was pretty tricky. It was apparently damaged by earthquakes in the 10th century, before it was completely obliterated by an even larger quake in the 1300s. Even its total height was never truly confirmed, as most people assumed it stood anywhere between 100 and 118 meters tall. The Great Lighthouse puzzled experts for a long time before its remains were finally discovered in 1968 by a UNESCO-sponsored research team. This proved that the lighthouse was very real and served as a massive achievement in the ancient world. Up next is the Blinkerwall. So speaking of underwater discoveries, it looks like scientists have recently discovered a new megastructure that we never even knew existed. The Blinkerwall was discovered at the bottom of the Baltic Sea, and researchers believe it could be Europe's oldest megastructure. It might not look like much, but this massive wall spans a total of 1 kilometer in length and is constructed of 1,500 granite stones. Researchers have used very intricate tools to determine this newly discovered megastructure was likely built by the Paleolithic people between 11,700 and 9,900 years ago. It's seriously impressive that a civilization this old was able to build such a large wall. Now people are very curious about why it was built in the first place. Most theories have suggested that it was likely used for hunting reindeer, but others have suggested that it could have served as protection from an enemy civilization. A diving team confirmed that the carefully placed rocks were put together by humans and were not a natural formation. It's highly likely that a natural disaster swept the Blinkerwall into the sea, but its discovery has posed a ton of new questions about our ancient ancestors. After that, we have the Valley of Kings. This self-explanatory area in Egypt was the resting place of pretty much every pharaoh from the 18th, 19th, and 20th dynasties of ancient Egypt. There are 62 tombs in total in the Valley of the Kings, which was situated in the ancient city of Thebes. Many rulers from these ancient dynasties feared that their elaborate tombs would be under threat during an attack or civil unrest, so they decided to conceal them in a very unassuming area. The Valley of the Kings served as the perfect burial ground for these rulers who wanted nothing but peace and quiet in the afterlife. The tombs are all hidden well below the earth in the mountains which surrounded the area. Long corridors and staircases lead to the tombs that were built to confuse any robbers who even attempted to access the tombs, ensure that they would be trapped if they did set foot within the mountains. Mummies were concealed in a large stone sarcophagus to ensure maximum safety, and valuable objects were placed around them so they could be passed on to the rulers in the afterlife. Archaeologists have uncovered all sorts of amazing artifacts from the valley, which now serves as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And finally, we have the Chichen Itza. The ancient city known as Chichen Itza is one of the most well-known Mayan structures in existence. Settlers first arrived at the site of the city around 550 and decided to call it their new home. The crowning achievement of this ancient city was the mega structure known as El Castillo. This giant pyramid stands 24 meters tall and is situated in the middle of the main plaza. Now, the pyramid contains a total of 365 steps to indicate the number of days in the solar year. The shape of the structure is known to cast a shadow in the shape of a snake descending down the staircases on the spring and autumn equinoxes. A classic carving of a snake at the top of the pyramid also indicates that this mega structure was likely a tribute to one of the major deities of the ancient pantheon. An excavation team also found another smaller structure inside the pyramid to contain an elaborate red throne that was covered in jade. Now, experts were really puzzled by some of these discoveries. Looks like the Mayan people had a clear reason for all of their elaborate creations. This long-forgotten city and its giant pyramid was certainly one of the Mayans' greatest achievements. And that wraps up our look at the 10 prehistoric megastructures that scientists cannot explain. Thanks as always for tuning in, everybody. We'll see you all next time.